Hi and welcome back to A Case of Books. Today I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour through my favourite books that came out in February and March in the UK. I'm going to focus on books that you don't need to have read anything else prior to, but I do just want to mention 3 sequels that I really loved, and that's Traitor to the Throne by Olwen Hamilton, The Scarecrow Queen by Melinda Salisbury, and A Conjuring of Light by V. Schwab. Next up are 5 non-fiction books that are all kind of highly illustrated coffee table style books. The incredibly inspiring Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls, a similar kind of thing, all focused on women in science. Gemma Kearney's beautifully designed, completely joyful book about growing up. Book of photos from the women's marches around the world. And finally, a brilliant book of cocktails inspired by female writers. Now, on to my top 10 novels. First up is a brilliant UK YA book, Ink by Alice Broadway. This is a really fresh, readable dystopia that I just couldn't put down. Next up is another YA book, this time told in free verse. It's We Come Apart by Sarah Crossan and Brian Conahan, and it's kind of bittersweet teenage romance, sort of modern day Romeo and Juliet. The only middle grade on my list is See You in the Cosmos by Jack Cheng. This is a really charming, moving, lovely book for fans of Curious Incidents, Dog of the Nighttime or Wonder. Next up is a really beautifully done graphic novel called The Facts of Life, which is written and illustrated by Paula Knight. It's a really smart, moving story of one woman and her relationship with becoming or not becoming a mother. Next is an absolutely beautiful collection of essays by the Chinese-American writer Yiyan Li. They're about mental health, about why we write, and about why we read and the relationships we have with books. They're incredibly powerful and incredibly wise. My next pick is a book of short stories by a writer who actually died in 1988, but this is the first time these stories have been published. Although they were written in the 60s and 70s, they feel very fresh and timely, and they're beautifully written, sharp and funny and bracing. To finish up, I've got 4 adult novels. First of all, The Good People by Hannah Kent, which I think should have been on the Bailey's Prize long list. It's a gorgeous, dark book set in 19th century Ireland about small communities, faith versus religion, folklore and fairies. Next up is a book which is a mix of political commentary, literary fiction with a little bit of magical realism thrown in, and it's Exit West by Mohsen Hamid. It's about politics and refugees, but actually at its heart it's a love story. And finally we get on to my favourite 2 books of the last 2 months. Firstly, an absolutely extraordinary novel, Lincoln in the Bardo by short story writer George Saunders. This is such an amazing book. It's set over one night in a graveyard and it's told through hundreds of different voices, and it's a book that just really makes you kind of marvel at the extent of what fiction can do. Last up is a book that did make the Bailey's long list and that I am absolutely thrilled about, and it's The Lonely Hearts Hotel by Heather O'Neill. It's set in Montreal and New York between the 2 world wars, and it manages to be sharp and dark and whimsical and feminist all at the same time. It's such a sad and lovely book, and the turns of phrase are just incredibly quotable. So there you have the books that were my favourites that came out over the last couple of months. I'd love to know if you'd read any of them and what you made of them, or what you've been reading and enjoying. Please remember to like the video and to subscribe, and I will see you soon.